Hi everybody, Laura here. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm excited to be a part of the STAMPtember party with Simon Says Stamp along with several other talented designers, and we are featuring the fantastic new STAMPtember release, and I have a couple of fun projects to share with you. I'm going to be featuring several products, but mostly I'm featuring this new stepped back blocks stencil set, and you get 4 stencils in the set. I'm going to get to ink blending. First I pull out that Simon Says Stamp grid paper pad. I like to ink blend on it. I have a panel of Nina Solar White, and okay, so there's 4 stencils in this set, and you can really do it in a million and different variations. I don't really have a plan. I'm just kind of going wherever the mojo takes me. Okay, I'm going to use some of these gorgeous new Pawsitively saturated inks. This color is Celery. It's the lightest in the green family, and I'm using one of the large green Simon Says Stamp ink blender brushes. Now every time, this is, by the way, this is the first time I've blended with these brand new inks, and can I tell you, they blend like butter. They really do blend like butter. And I'll tell you what, I'm a harsh critic when it comes to inks. Like, I don't like, listen, I'm picky and I call it like it is, but these inks, they blend like butter, and I ain't lying. I needed very little effort to get a smooth, seamless coverage. Of course, I was just blending tiny little squares. Now this panel here, or this stencil here, is going to require a lot more coverage, a lot more area to go. I'm using the lightest in the blue family, which is Seafoam. Again, another light aqua blender brush, pairs perfectly. And now I will tell you what, every time I ink up, I always tap off on the grid paper pad. It does prevent a lot of splotchiness, but I found these inks to be very forgiving. I didn't have any problems with splotchy. I didn't feel like I was wrestling it. I didn't feel like they were oversaturated. I felt like they were smooth, almost creamy like. And you know, I'll show you in a minute. I stamped out a swatch chart, and I only had, you know, a lot of times when I stamp something, I always say stamp it twice to make it nice, but I did not have to stamp the swatch chart twice to make it nice. One stamp gave it the perfectly smooth, even stamp coverage. I'm telling you, I'm calling it like it is. Okay, we're adding another 3rd stencil with the darker shade of the ink. I forgot the color, but I'll have it all listed below. Now with these stencils, really, I didn't know exactly how they were supposed to layer up. I just kind of like went with it, but there are a lot of different variations that you could create, you know, geometric designs. A lot of different options depending on how you know, where you put the stencil and all that jazz. I'm going to stop right here. Sometimes you just got to know when to hold it, know when to fold it. And I'm going to do one more panel because I couldn't stop, and I wanted to use some more of these inks. So I'm laying on that same kind of small diamond stencil again. Here's all the inks in all their glory. Right now we have 5 trios. Here's my swatch chart that I told you I only needed to stamp those little solid circles one time. They're smooth as butter, and they blend like butter. I got to come up with a jingle for that. They blend like butter. All my jingles sound the same. Okay, first color on this card, I'm using Lemonade. And again, easy peasy lemon squeezy, no pun intended. You might notice I'm not wearing my wedding ring. I'll tell you what happened. You know, I've been married 25 years. Never had a problem with my wedding ring. I've had 5 kids. I've gained 50 pounds and back down again and up again. I've been every size in the book. Wedding ring stays on 25 years. Now we got the dog, Hank the Tank, and I don't know if it's the hot summer months or the dog licking my hand. Maybe I'm getting dog slobber, but I broke out in a rash right around where my wedding ring goes. It's like rashy and a bit swollen, and I was having trouble getting my ring on and off. I don't sleep with my rings on. Every night I take everything off. I can't sleep with anything on. But I find when I get up in the morning, I couldn't get my ring back on. And then at night, I couldn't get my ring back off. And I thought, oh, Laura, you're gaining weight. It's the old pandemic weight kicking in. And but you know what? It was my finger swollen and rashy. So I took my, I was telling Mark, my husband, I'm like, what do I do? He's like, just don't wear your rings for a week. See how it goes. So I took my rings off, finger healed up, rash went away. So I put my rings back on. What do you know? Week later, it's all rashy and swollen again. So what do you think it is? Now I know my ring is white gold. So I don't think that's a problem. Is it the dog? Is it the dog slobber getting under the wedding ring and creating, I don't know. Should I go to the doctor? I'm not a doctor going type of gal. I really, really hate going to the doctor. I hate getting shots. I just don't like it. The worst is the dentist. Forget about it. Okay, while I was blabbing away, you can see I use more warm tones on this. I believed you know what? I'm not even going to try to tell you the colors, but I'll have it all linked below. And this one, I did do an extra step. I added an extra square, just because I felt like it. And so there's the 2 panels that I created. Now we're going to turn them into cards. So I've got the etched layered daisy. I'm going to die cut that out of 2 different shades of yellow cardstock. And the detail on these is gorgeous. I'm going to do it one more time just for that middle part in khaki. Okay, now here, you know what? You could leave it as is, but I like to zhuzh it up to the high heavens. So I took out some of this Sunbeam Pawsitively saturated ink, and I'm adding just a little bit in the center. I don't want the outer edge. I wanted to give that gradient love. And then, I'll add a little bit on this lighter yellow die cut. Just a little bit of Sunbeam. Never hurt nobody. Okay, so now you've got these 2 zhuzhed up sunflower petals ready to layer up. Now for the center little, I don't know what you call that, seed part, I took out a little vintage photo distress ink. And now here's where these little mini ink blender brushes come in handy. Okay, for stuff like that when you need to get a small little area. Now I take my scissors and I just kind of trim it. Nothing fancy schmancy. I'm just eyeballing it so that I can pop that in the center of my sunflower. Now I did add a little dimension because dimension is life. Okay, never mind. And then I'm going to glue on the center brown part. Now, this is a drop dead gorgeous sunflower. I didn't feel like I wanted to do too much more because that sunflower popped up on that geometric background is like bada boom. So I'm just centering it, ever so gently pressing it down, and then ever so subtly give it a light zhuzh. Okay, for the sentiment, I'm using one of the reverse Get Well sentiment strips, and I'm using one of those sentiment label dies to cut it out. Cuts it perfectly. A little bit of foam tape on each side, popping it up, right, just kind of tucking it. It's all about the tuck as well as the sequins. I love to tuck a sequin. Tuck it, stagger it, forget about it. Okay, there's card number 1. Beautiful sunflower on a geometric background. Okay, here's panel number 2. And as you can see, I did crop my blended panels down quite a bit smaller so you can get that gorgeous white border around the edge. For the blooms, I'm using the etched PRIMROSE blooms dies. 2 sizes. I did some Concord 9th cardstock for that, and honeysuckle and grapefruit, but I wanted to give them a little bit of love. So I used the small blender brushes, and this one here is using Mandarin Pawsitively saturated ink, and just did a little bit in the center of that bloom. For this bloom, which is honeysuckle cardstock, I use Pucker ink. Little dab will do. Now I need a little bit of leaves. I needed something. So I took the coordinating die set to the painted leaves, and I just cut out a couple of leaves. No biggie. Now for the sentiment, gosh, I love this sentiment stamp set. It's the extra large Greetings 3. Classic, never go out of style. Gives you a lot of different font choices. And I just did thank you so much. Gonna cut it out with the coordinating die, and then we're gonna assemble this card like nobody's biz. Okay, it's all about the composition. So I've got the honeysuckle bloom here. I've got the grapefruit bloom, popping them up, tucking in the leaves. one down there, one up there. Sometimes you got to trim a leaf so that you can properly tuck it. Now here's the most important thing of the day, zhuzh it. And then I'm going to find out where I want the sentiment to kind of just like snuggle in. And last but not least, the sequin. Stagger it, tuck it, forget about it. Okay, there are the 2 cards created using some of the fantastic new STAMPtember release with Simon Says Stamp. Make sure and check out the rest of the blog party. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time.